we hit January 2nd, that's when the sprint to spring training really begins.
Boy, I'll tell you, man, it is fascinating seeing the Pirates trying at least a little bit.
Yeah.
they don't do that very often. And I don't know what it's going to mean. I mean, it could mean a last place finish this year.
Well, let's cross that bridge in just 1 second.
Yeah, it's a little too early for that.
I'm going to respond to the first thing that you said, and then we'll get to the second. That was kind of a cruel trick by you to set it up a certain way and then just drop that, just hand that grenade off right before it's my turn to talk. I think the first thing on the Pirates, you and I have talked about this at off and on at some length. It's maybe an indicator of the Pirates thinking that the tides are turning a little bit and wanting to, I don't know, position themselves in a certain way going into these CBA negotiations, knowing that whether it's really on the table or not, the idea of a cap and floor is going to be discussed, or at least at the periphery of the discussion, in a way that it hasn't been in recent decades and maybe ever. And I do wonder that those feel like the kind of moves you make as a team looking to fill in a little bit more payroll, kind of, some NFL teams that are toward the bottom of it. Not that there isn't value in having O'Hearn around. I'm not saying it's just filler. But there are certain types of moves that NFL teams that are expected to be toward the bottom of the league make at the end of an offseason when they're knowing they need to hit a certain floor in order to satisfy the rules. And so I don't want to make this about that, but it felt like maybe a little glimpse into what we could be seeing if something like that does come to pass, even if it's a very low floor and a very high cap with a big gap between them relative to what other sports do. To your point, I wonder if that puts a little more pressure. Pauley and I talked about this, I guess it was last week, that I personally don't really care if the Cardinals finish third or fourth or fifth. If the answer is that this is a team that's going to be below 500, it's not really important to me whether that win number is 77 or 67. Obviously, I mean, you'd prefer it's not 57.
Yeah, but let's not do that, please.
Right, but the difference between 77 and 67 is just not really important to me. And what is important is that they get a little more serious about this runway idea that we talked about so much this year, and that really everything is about getting those innings, getting those at-bats for the guys that you can learn about over the course of a year. And I wonder, as Chaim Bloom has, I think, taken real steps in that direction of saying we're going to clear out guys who are not going to be part of the long-term plan, even if they're guys who could help win a couple more games, even a few more games, handful more games in 2026. If that reality of the Pirates saying we're going to be a little more competitive puts any pressure on Chaim Bloom, whether it's his own personal pressure or pressure coming from above him or wherever else it might be, to say, we are interested in adding a veteran or two at the right price, even on 1 or 2 year deals, because last place is not something that agrees with St. Louis. But I would think there's pressure to at least not be last.
I do think that when Vegas comes out with their season win totals, over-unders, that the Cardinals are going to be in the last position in the NL Central. I think the Pirates will have a higher win total than the Cardinals when that comes out. And that should be out in about probably, 2 months or so. It generally comes out a little bit before spring training gets started.
Yeah.
The Pirates have really good pitching. The Reds are coming off a playoff season. The Cubs are the Cubs. The Brewers are the Brewers. We don't have that story to tell about the Cardinals yet. So barring something unexpected happening, like Nate just alluded to, I don't see how the Cardinals almost can't be the team that's got that lowest win projection going into spring training.
Do you think that moves the needle, whether it's for Chaim Bloom or for ownership or whatever? Do you think there is a feeling that avoiding last place is not a priority, but at least relevant in some way? Or do you think they just stick to the plan?
I think they stick to the plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they've already been saying, we've heard Chaim say, in fact, we saw him say this with Tom Ackerman, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before that, look, they're still looking to add, though. They're still looking to add to the bullpen. They're still looking to maybe look at another starting pitcher, maybe a right-handed bat. So it's not like they're trying to tank where you're going to lose as many. You don't really care how many games you lose. They're definitely not taking that approach, but I would agree. I just don't think I don't think the projections are going to change anything. I think they probably want to be respectable just for the sake of selling tickets and being competitive.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be a last place club. The the Pirates are still the Pirates, and they have to prove to me that they're not the Pirates. And I know the Reds made that nice little run at the end of the season, but let's be honest, the Reds got into the playoffs because the Mets just completely opened up the door for them. And it was an accomplishment for Cincinnati. Like, that sounds like I'm trying to denigrate what Cincinnati did down the stretch of the season last year. That's not true, but it wasn't like they played great baseball. They played less terrible baseball than the New York Mets, and that was good enough to get them into the postseason. The Cardinals were not that far off from a record standpoint from Cincinnati last year. And Chaim has said it before, when you go make good decisions, even if those decisions are based off what's going to happen long term, good decision making can help you in the current and the now. And I think we're going to see some version of that play out this upcoming season. And I also think we're going to see some players take some steps forward. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be Jordan Walker. I don't know if it's going to be Nolan Gorman. I don't know if J.J. Weatherholt's going to, just be a guy right out of the gate who really performs at a high level. But there's no way from a run-scoring standpoint that they can have some of the deficiencies that they had last year again this upcoming season.
To that point, too, Matt, I think, you're saying we don't know who it'll be. We don't know if it could be this guy or that guy or the other guy. And that's true. And, the Cardinals might have a more educated guess than you and I have, but they don't know either. And to that point, I think that's exactly what Chaim Bloom is trying to clear the way for, is that as many of those guys, not just A and B, but A, B, C, D, E, all get the opportunity. So that way the Cardinals don't have to pick and choose, don't have to guess at who they think that guy is. They can just find out and let it play out. And I think that's something, at least in the short term. Again, if the Cardinals win totals start to head toward the 60s, maybe we're going to be having a different conversation by the end of the year, because to Wheel's point, it's relevant for ticket sales. It's relevant. I mean, to at least be consistently competitive is relevant for development too, right? You don't want young guys coming into an environment where they're losing 100 games and there's sort of an apathy that starts to permeate the entire ballpark, obviously. I wonder if those guys getting those opportunities, though, and if we start to see just one or two of those guys really seize hold of it and develop in a way and in front of our eyes over the course of the year, I wonder if there is a bit of an appetite for that in St. Louis, because I think even if this season ended in winning 70 games, if it felt like we had moved forward more, then in September and October we had a better picture of what was going to be the identity of this team going forward and what was the path back to the top of the division and back to contending for pennants and World Series, I think I could feel great about 2026, even with a poor record, whereas even though the 2025 team was competitive for significant stretches of the year and, gave us conversation fodder going into July about what should they do at the deadline, it didn't feel in September like we learned a lot more about what was the long-term outlook of the Cardinals, what was the long-term path for the Cardinals. It feels like Chaim Bloom, above and beyond everything else, is committed to making sure they find a path that's going to work for them over the foreseeable future.
All right, we're going to pick it back up on the other side, a little more baseball. Then we will switch to college football after the news at 5:30. So coming up next, a little bit more on Baseball America ranking the Cardinals the most improved farm system in 2025, which is an interesting jumpstart since they really have only started adding to that within the last few months, the trade deadline here in the offseason. So we'll pick up on that and see if we can draw any meaning from that and how that can impact what we just talked about, boosting this roster a little bit as the season goes along. We'll hit that next here on KMOX.
Okay, we've got the chips, the fancy cheese, the sparkling cider. Oh, and I need to fill up the tank on the way home.
Look at the cart. We haven't even hit midnight yet, and you're already blowing your save money resolution for next year.
I'm not blowing it. I'm being smart. I'm using Upside.
Upside? That cash back app?
Exactly. I just claimed an offer, and just like that, I'm getting cash back on all these groceries. And I'll do the same at the gas station. It's how I earned an extra $250 this year.
Wait, $250?
Yep, that's extra cash I can cash out to my bank or throw onto gift cards to my favorite spots.
Download the free Upside app and start earning cash back now. Use promo code POP10 for a $10 bonus on your first grocery purchase. That's promo code POP10. Make your resolution easy this year. Download the free Upside app today and use promo code POP10 for an extra $10 bonus on your first purchase.
Offers vary by user and location at participating merchants. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Experience a celebration of movement and music as the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra and St. Louis Dance Theater join together for Stravinsky and Debussy Music and Motion. This adventurous collaboration reimagines Stravinsky's Pulcinella Suite in an entirely new way that celebrates powerful partnerships between dance and music. January 10th and 11th at Powell Hall at the Jack C. Taylor Music Center. Tickets at slso.org.
Setting goals for retirement is one thing, but knowing how to achieve those goals is another.
What are your wishes, hopes, and dreams? What's retirement look like for you? Because everybody, that picture is different.
For tips on building a better nest egg, tune in to the All Financial Hour with host Steve All, Saturday mornings at 10 or Sunday evenings at 6, right here on KMOX. You can also visit yourmoneymattersstl.com for more details.
St. Louis City SC is teaming up again with Enterprise to salute the people who make our city shine bright. The Exceptional Neighbor program presented by Enterprise is back, and now you can help us find the class of 2026. Nominate your friend, coworker, or anyone who's going above and beyond for the STL region, and they could be featured on the pitch during halftime. Go to stlcitysc.com/exceptional neighbor now through January 9th and tell us who you think deserves to be an exceptional neighbor. Presented by Enterprise.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we still have a couple of issues out there. This traffic reports a service of Pine Valley Assisted Living. If you're downtown, we've still got this tractor trailer stalled westbound 44 just past the Poplar. 44 is jammed back through the Arch Grounds, and it's impacting westbound 64 coming in from Illinois. It's a solid jam approaching Route 3. A little better than it was last report, but still a significant jam. There's a stall north 270 past Manchester. A little bit of a backup there. There's a minor crash in the right lane, eastbound 70 between Earth City and 270. Traffic primarily in the right lanes is backed up approaching Earth City. The left lanes aren't as bad, obviously, since it's blocking the right-hand one. Westbound Highway 64, there's a little slowdown at Spady, and it's still kind of slow from Lake St. Louis Boulevard out to Highway 70. If you're on eastbound 64, Hanley through Big Bend, that's sort of crowded as well. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Looking for a beautiful, all-inclusive place for your loved one? Happy holidays from Pine Valley Assisted Living. Secure a room between now and January 31st and take advantage of our move-in special. Enjoy affordable rates with absolutely no hidden fees. Experience the beautiful life at Pine Valley. Visit rspseniorliving.com today.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, Rush Hour Sports. Matt Pauley, Nate Gatter, Kevin Wheeler with you, hanging out till 6. At 6 o'clock, it is the Countdown to Opening Day show. We'll tell you more about that coming up in a little bit. College football after the 5:30 news, and a little more cards here, guys. So I saw that Baseball America has listed the Cardinals as the most improved farm system in baseball in 2025, which is great. And you know, Nate, Matt, and I kind of teased this. We didn't get very deep into it, but teased it a little earlier on DGS, and noted that, you know, a lot of the change, a lot of the improvement in the system has been from players that were already in the system. So it's not just, yes, it's Liam Doyle being drafted. That's a really big deal. That's your number 2 prospect, right? And it is getting Brandon Clark in the trade and Yoiker Fajardo and Jesus Baez at the deadline from the Mets. And yeah, so you've added players, sure. But it's also guys in your system like Joshua Baez, like Raniel Rodriguez, Leonardo Bernal, Jimmy Crooks, a bunch of these guys who just took big leaps at the same time. It's a great indicator of the direction. We know that most of these guys are not going to be stars. We know this. But really all you need is about 25, 30% of them to be legitimately good major leaguers to be a successful team.
And that was the Cardinals' blueprint for how long, right? I mean, that's exactly, it was all about that development. And I think what we're seeing now, I mean, you can correct me if you think differently, Wills, but I think what we're seeing now is an understanding from the Cardinals. And it's not, when I say now, I mean the last few years. It doesn't necessarily have to be this year that it just started. It's not like a revelation of having Chaim Bloom here, though I think he has given a renewed and particularized commitment to it. But we've seen over the last several years a commitment from the Cardinals to, yes, spending on the occasional free agent who they think is a really good fit, especially if it's more like the 3 to 4 year type of deal that they're more comfortable handing out, like we saw with Sonny Gray, and I guess Wilson Contreras was a touch longer, but that kind of category of guy, and not as opposed to the 7-8 year guy or the $30 million a year guy over that extended kind of deal. What we've seen is the honest understanding that that's where it's going to have to come from. If the Cardinals are going to be as competitive as they want to be and as competitive as St. Louis has come to expect them to be over the last couple of decades, it's going to have to come from the farm system, whether that is, and at least some of it's going to mean coming from the farm system and turning out guys who can be not only productive major leaguers, but at least a couple of guys who can be all-star caliber players, because that's what they've been missing, and it's going to have to come from within because the Cardinals are not showing any kind of commitment, although they're not in the category of Pittsburgh or Cincinnati. They're not showing the commitment to being a team that spends in the top 10 in baseball. In fact, they're solidly in the bottom half now. They're falling well behind some non-traditional baseball markets, some not as nearly as powerful major league brands in spending, and so I think there's just an acceptance there, and as a result, the pipeline is going to have to be a major contributor of talent.
I basically agree with what you just said, Nate, but I will say this. When this team is ready to compete again, when this team is a player or two away from being a legitimate World Series contender, my expectation is going to be that the DeWitts do go out there and spend money and bring in free agents. And I want them to bring in free agents at the top side of the roster and on the bottom side of the roster. We always mention the Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn's. When you got those guys coming in who are number 4, number 5 starters essentially, and you're giving them $11, $12 million each, well, that spot on your roster has to be filled by players that you are developing, so you can take that money and combine it and go get top of the roster guys. So I'll openly criticize the DeWitts if the Cardinals are back to a point of competing and they're not doing that. And we're in a place right now in baseball where if you're going to play, I'm not talking about the Shohei Ohtanis of the world, but if you're talking about legit all-star caliber players, you're going to have to extend yourself out a little bit more. It's not just going to be that 3-4 year deal. There's going to be a point where the DeWitts are going to have to spend money on a 7-8 year contract, knowing that that contract might not look great at the end of it. And maybe they try to do what they did with Sonny Gray, where they backloaded and know that they're probably going to try to move on from that contract before it gets there. Whatever you do, but I do have an expectation that this team is going to be able to spend at some point in the future.
I hope you're right about that. I will just say, mark me down as a significant doubt that the Cardinals at any point under current ownership get beyond 14th or 15th in base, which I realize would be up from where they are
top
now.
10 quite consistently in the last 20 years.
I think that era is gone. I would be very
based
surprised.
On what?
I would be very surprised. I think if that commitment were still there, we would have seen it when there were opportunities to contend in the last few years, right? Not necessarily last season, but I think we would have seen more aggression when the Cardinals were, at the very least, within another marquee guy or two away from being not just favorites in the Central, but for being at that point a team that gets in the playoffs and is at least in the next group after, say, the Dodgers, and is in that like 3-4 team spot in the National League where you take your chances in a series. And I don't think the Cardinals were nearly as aggressive as they would have been under the economic structures of baseball between, say, 2010 and 2015 relative to the top third of the league.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is figuring out what the TV landscape's going to look like. Their payroll in 2024 was $183 million. And, that's going to put you in that top range. It's going to put you in that top half for sure. And that's even after the last couple of years of their money coming in from FanDuel Sports Network being diminished significantly because of the bankruptcy. So some of this, so if we don't think that's going to get fixed, then maybe we have a longer-term problem. I think Major League Baseball is going to be fixing that for not just the Cardinals. I mean, like for all teams, their new way of doing things is going to balance that out so that it's not the big loss. But yeah, I think it's a hard time to make this judgment because that's why I said based on what? Because we had the same time a roster get old and thin, and as Matt pointed out, you're paying just for filler rather than paying for quality. And then at the same time, you lost significant revenue with the TV deals changing. But I don't think that's going to keep going down. I think the TV stuff goes back up once Major League Baseball fixes this.
Hopefully. I think they miscalculated some things in the last couple of years on TV deals that resulted in them, the ESPN Sunday night deal. All of a sudden, ESPN is saying, why are we spending this much money when you're giving Roku one game a week and they're spending so much less? And they've been able to kind of make good the total money, but it took more deals to get it done. The RSN situation is a disaster. We don't know where the Cardinals games are going to air this upcoming season. They've got to stabilize this TV thing at some point.
That's the number one thing for the sport. And it'll impact the Cardinals, sure. But, I mean, this is about every team that is not a top 10 market. This is about all of them from 11 to 30 having a better means of competing and having more certainty. I think that's it. It's a lot more about the certainty of the revenue than it is just about the total, although the total matters too. All right, good stuff. Nate Gatter, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler hanging out with you here on Rush Hour Sports. Hang tight. We change to the college football playoff when we come back from the news. Hey guys, Kevin Wheeler here to tell you about 213 Complex, which is available at Supplement Superstores. Look, it's the time of year to make things happen with health goals. 213 Complex will do for you what it does for me. Gets the metabolism rocking and rolling 24 hours a day, helps you fight cravings, gives you all-day focused energy with no crash that comes at the end of the day either. It's been a big help for me. It will help you. So get out to Supplement Superstores. Tell them Kevin Wheeler sent you in. They'll knock 30% off your 213 Complex. To get started down your path and find your location, just go to supplementsuperstores.com.
At 5:30, it is a clear sky and 31 degrees downtown at the Arch. More artists are canceling scheduled performances at Washington's Kennedy Center following its renaming.
The board of Washington, D.C.'s Kennedy Center, handpicked by President Trump, voted less than 2 weeks ago to rename it the Donald J. Trump and the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts. And workers added Trump's name the very next day. Not long after came the cancellations, a Christmas Eve jazz concert, and now a jazz New Year's Eve featuring the supergroup The Cookers. They didn't mention the renaming, but emphasized their commitment to music that bridges divisions. Separately, sax player Billy Harper says he would never even consider performing in a venue bearing a name that he says represents overt racism and deliberate destruction of African American music and culture. Kennedy Center President Richard Grinnell, appointed by Trump, tells AP the last-minute cancellations show those artists were always unwilling to perform for everyone. Ben Thomas, Washington.
The American Kennel Club adds 3 more breeds to its recognized list.
Instead of who let the dogs out, it's who let the dogs in. On Tuesday, 3 more breeds join the American Kennel Club's roster of recognized breeds. One of the newcomers is the Teddy Roosevelt Terrier. Another, the Russian Svetnaya Balanka, a lapdog developed in Soviet-era Russia. The third, a centuries-old French hunting hound called the Basset Fauve de Bretagne. The AKC now recognizes 205 breeds. Recognition means eligibility for many U.S. dog shows and can increase a breed's visibility to the pet-loving public. Animal rights activists have long deplored dog breeding and the AKC for supporting it. The AKC says it's committed to all dogs' well-being. Julie Walker, New York.
He was a third-round draft pick by the Cardinals, who pitched at Busch Stadium from 2012 to 14. But Joe Kelly refuses to say that he is retiring. Kelly, who started Game 3 of the 2013 World Series for St. Louis, tells the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast from Odyssey that he hates the R word because playing a game should not be compared to a 9 to 5.
He's like, "Hey, you retired?" I was like,
basically. You can't call it that, though. I was like, retirement's a term you use for, like, people who worked a real job.
Kelly now says he's a, quote, dance dad after pitching 13 Major League seasons. Americans were asked about the future back in 1998. Here's what they got right and got wrong.
27 years ago, Gallup polled over 1,000 Americans on a landline about what they thought would happen by 2025.
Back to the future.
They predicted that we'd have a black president, that gay marriage would be legal, and a new disease would emerge. However, in 1998, they also thought we'd have a cure for cancer by now and a female president. Americans also thought that people would be living to be 100 years old by 2025. Currently, the average American life expectancy is 78 years. Jen Clark, CBS News.
From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, for tonight, breezy conditions under the clouds, low 28. For tomorrow, breezy conditions, a little bit of sun and a high of 45. And for New Year's Eve at midnight, 32 degrees, the overall overnight low 27. New Year's Day, sunshine, high 39. Right now it's 31, feels like 26 downtown at the Arch. Winds are out of the southwest at just 5 miles per hour. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, the genuine, the original, present 100 years of KMOX.
It's over!
There when St. Louis celebrated.
And the St. Louis Blues are the Stanley Cup champions for the first time in franchise history!
A former captain, Bernie, you've always wanted the Stanley Cup in the city of St. Louis, but now that it's here, what can you say about the group of guys that did it?
Oh my God, this was the ultimate team. Going to go down as one of the greatest stories, maybe, of all time in the NHL.
Petro, how does it feel knowing that your name's going to forever be on this?
Wow. It's crazy to think about. I think it's all starting to sink in right now as I'm walking down right now the street. It's pretty amazing.
This is only going to be one of many Stanley Cups that we win here because we bleed blue.
There for every headline, every heartbreak, every heartbeat. KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
If you or anyone you care about is facing a family legal matter, call Cordell & Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
If you or anyone you care about is facing divorce, contact Cordell & Cordell today. With over 100,000 clients served, we understand the challenges you're facing on a personal level. Call Cordell & Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. That's 1-855-GET-LEGAL. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
Attention business owners with a net income over $500,000. You need to work with a tax strategist that understands your entrepreneurial mindset. Download the most recent white paper written by E3 Consultants Group titled The Power of a Professional Tax Strategy Team. Go to e3wealth.com/radio to obtain a copy. It's time to learn about wealth and tax strategies that protect your personal and business economy. E3 is ready to help you think differently about your finances. Educate, empower, enlighten. That's the E3 difference.
Hey, it's Debbie Monterey, and can you believe it's already the holiday season? While most people are thinking about lights and gift lists, a lot of homeowners are also wondering if now is the right time to sell or if they should wait until the new year. So I'm here with Gloria Liu from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria, what should sellers be thinking about right now?
Great question. Even during the holidays, serious buyers are still out there, and with fewer homes on the market, sellers actually face less competition. When we get into the new year, listings start to spike and competition rises. But that's never a problem for my clients because I guarantee to sell your home at your price and time frame, or I will buy it myself. Whether you want to move now or after the holidays, we'll make it smooth and stress-free.
That's why Gloria Liu is the trusted choice for St. Louis home sellers. Call 314-325-6888 or visit gloriahasthebuyers.com. From all of us, happy holidays, and here's to your next move being your best one. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
This is Corey from Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. There's never a good time for your heating system to stop working. If yours does, no matter what time or day, Air Comfort Service offers 24/7 emergency HVAC service. Contact our award-winning team for 5-star heating service and stay in your comfort zone. For heating and 24/7 emergency service, contact Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Installation at aircomfortservice.com. That's aircomfortservice.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-941-2255. That's 800-941-2255.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Thank you, St. Louis, for making Genesis of St. Charles the #1 Genesis dealer in Missouri for 2025. We know your time is valuable. That's why every purchase comes with 3 years of complimentary Genesis service valet. Unlock your e-price and save. That means complimentary vehicle pickup and delivery, plus a loaner vehicle at no additional cost. Or want something new? We'll bring the test drive to you. Visit GenesisofStCharles.com during the Genesis Signature event. Based on GMA sales records for 2024. See dealer for details.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Dial #law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we got a few trouble spots out there right now. One that's pretty serious. They're just arriving on the scene to start dealing with. It's Highway 21 or Tesson Ferry at the Merrimack River Bridge. So it's Tesson Ferry north of 141. They're saying the bridge is shut down right now because of a crash. Northbound, it's just backed up at 141. Obviously, southbound, the jam's a little longer. It's jammed about midway back to Hageman. Again, as of right now, the bridge is closed. So you're going to take an alternate route, hop over to Gravois or 55 and go south to get to a 141 and continue on from that point wherever you need to get to. There's a crash at the end of the ramp from 64 getting onto North 270. Eastbound, the ramp's just backed up on the ramp proper. Westbound 64, it's slow in the right lanes coming through Spady. And they're working that crash in the right lanes. Eastbound 70 before 270. Traffic is backed up between the Blanchette and Earth City there. And downtown still a little slow westbound across the Poplar due to that earlier stalled semi. I'm Roger Brand in the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, back in on Rush Hour Sports. Matt Pauley, Nate Gatter, Kevin Wheeler hanging out with you here till the top of the hour, and then we have the countdown to opening day. What are we looking for with the countdown, Matt?
Yeah, good show coming up tonight. We're going to have Baseball Hall of Famer Barry Larkin, former Cardinal Xavier Scruggs, and then the voice of the Cardinals, John Rooney, sits down with both Rob Cerfolio and Randy Flores together. So a lot coming up on the show. Myself and Mike Claiborne will have it for you tonight, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Good times. All right, let's change it up for a little college football here, and we can do a little bit more tomorrow, Matt, when we have a little time. But we're getting into the days where the playoff games, there's 1 tomorrow and then 3 on New Year's Day. So let's just go in order and just offer up thoughts. The Miami-Ohio State game is New Year's Eve. It's tomorrow night. Ohio State is favored as they should be, and I think the number's a little high, but it's not it's not crazy high. And as a Miami guy that's watched every minute of every one of their games this year, I can tell you in all honesty, they could win this game by 2 touchdowns and they could lose by 4 touchdowns. They have that wide a range of possibilities. Their front line on defense is dominant. They blow people away. They stop the run. They went from one of the worst defenses in Division I last year to top 5 or 6 this year with a new defensive coordinator. They have NFL talent all over the place, but I'll tell you where they lose if they do. Too many mistakes. because they are a very turnover/penalty-prone team. And the combination of those two things, or Beck just crapping the bed at quarterback, which is why I think Ohio State's easy the pick to win. I think that's the better team. I don't think it's a lock, but they are the better team. And more importantly, they're the more consistent week-in, week-out team.
Nate, in your role as Westwood One's lead college football broadcaster, Miami of Ohio State, Oregon, Texas Tech, Alabama, Indiana, Ole Miss, and Georgia, how many of those teams did you see live this year?
I think it was only one from each game, actually, in this quarterfinal round. It was not as many as you think, because we didn't have Indiana. We didn't have Texas Tech. We didn't have Miami this year. I saw them last year, but obviously totally different team.
I wish Cam Ward was still there.
Yeah, we'd probably be having a different conversation if that were the case. I will say, I think, although there's some risk in speaking without having seen some of these teams in person, especially because, and we've talked about this before, Matt, the nature of the job means that then sometimes having one game, in the mid-afternoon means you don't see the others. Even on TV, you don't see as much of the other ones as a fan at home might be able to. I will say, I think I wouldn't write Miami off in this game. I think Ohio State, though, has a different level of talent, a different level of talent and depth combination than any other team in the country, including Indiana. And I say that knowing that Indiana won on a neutral-ish field, and that's meaningful, and I don't mean to diminish it, and nobody would be happier than I would be if Indiana won the national championship. I know we have a lot of IU people here in St. Louis, including here at KMOX, and I think it would be great for the sport if a school like Indiana, with its lack of traditional football success, could ascend so quickly to the top of the sport and has ascended so quickly to the top of the sport. That is everything that's good for the fan and for the sport about this era that we're in right now. But they've only had the couple of years to develop the kind of depth. Ohio State has that depth pretty much all the time. I think Indiana needed a lot of things to go right or more. Ohio State had to make a lot of mistakes down toward the end of that Big Ten championship game to lose it. And at a true neutral site in a rematch, I think you still have to give Ohio State the edge. In a game against Miami, I think that stands out to me again the same way. Miami has top-end talent that can compete with anybody. Can they churn in the bodies the way that Ohio State can? Do they have the quality across position groups the way that Ohio State does? To me, if Julian Sayin can play with confidence and play with care, and it's difficult to do both at the same time on a big stage, but if he can do both of those things, I have a hard time thinking that Ohio State can't find a way. They just have so many options, so much talent, especially on offense.
Yeah, I would throw in, Matt and Nate, I think talent is not that different. Coaching is. Ryan Day is a way better coach than Mario Cristobal on game day. That's the and again, I've seen both. I've seen Ohio State play 9 times this year. I saw every Miami game. That's, to me, the definitive difference, is that Ryan Day has shown in the big games he can do the things that you need to win the big games, and Mario has not shown that. And that's why I think Ohio State's the winner.
I said to you during the DGS, of the 4 games, that's the one that I would be most confident about.
Straight up win and lose, yeah.
Yeah, and Ohio State winning that game. And the point spread shows it, right? Like, that's the largest point spread of the 4. I'm not breaking news by saying that Ohio State is likely to win that game. I think those 3 other games are much better games on paper.
I will tell you this. The 4 best teams that Ohio State played are Texas, Washington, Michigan, and Indiana. And they only averaged 18 points a game against those 4 teams.
Yeah,
they scored a lot of points against a lot of not good teams. The best teams they played did not let that offense go off.
I take your point, Matt. I think I though feel that Miami is a lot closer than that. I think Ohio State wins the game, but I feel if you forced me to pick, if we were doing like Survivor style, and I just had to pick the winner of one game this week, like my life depended on it, I'm going Georgia before I would go Ohio State.
All right.
And I might go Oregon before I would go Ohio State.
Really?
Interesting.
I feel very confident in Oregon. So I that's not to say I don't think Ohio State will win. But I think
I get you.
To me, Georgia is really good, and Ole Miss just has all their Ole Miss problems that they're dealing with. And I'm not. That's not meant to disparage them.
Lane
It's not their
Kiffin's
fault.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything wrong. I would, again, kind of like what I'm saying about Indiana. I would love for Ole Miss to do well. They have been totally hard done by in how everything has happened over this last month and change, and they don't deserve any of what's happening to them. But it's how it is.
It's a good take. I happen to agree on that part of it. I think that those 3 games are good ones. I'm really curious about Alabama, Indiana. Let's save that and talk about that one next, because to me, there are so many levels of intrigue there. Because coaching may be on one side, but the talent's definitely on the other side, and both teams have had pretty good schedules. So we'll talk about that big game and wrap up the college football stuff next year on KMOX.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus
wins,
years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-491-9914. 800-491-9914. That's 800-491-9914.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Hey, St. Louis City SC fans, mark your calendars now. The Boys in Red return to Energizer Park to kick off Season 4 Saturday, February 21st. And you could be there for the dawn of a new golden era of St. Louis soccer. Go to stlcitysc.com/tickets and reserve your seat now for the MLS home opener versus Charlotte FC. Limited quantities remain. See you soon, St. Louis.
Traffic from the michaelsflooringoutlet.com traffic center.
Well, we're still dealing with our trouble in St. Louis County, Jefferson County, right at the county line, basically. That crash has the Merrimack River Bridge shut down, Tesson Ferry or 21. Northbound 21 is backed up at 141. Southbound, you're jammed about midway back to Hageman. So, again, plan on an alternate route to cut over maybe Butler Hill or Merrimack Bottom over to 55, or you can go different ways to get home. Just if you're on 270, you may just want to hop on Gravel or 55 and avoid even getting on Tesson Ferry. Still this crash at the end of the ramp from 64 to North 270. Eastbound, just the ramp backed up. Westbound, the right lanes are bogged down at Ballast. They call it an EMS again for the crash, eastbound 70 before 270, but it looks like it's on the shoulder. Traffic is pretty well thinned out through that area, so that's good news, and the rest of the highways look great. I'm Roger Brand at the michaelsflooringoutlet.com traffic center.
Rush Hour Sports continues on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
All right, Matt Pauley, Nate Gatter, Kevin Wheeler with you here for a few more minutes on Rush Hour Sports, finishing up some talk on the college football playoff. The game we haven't spent a lot of time on all of these games, but I think we kind of rounded it out on the other 3 games. But Alabama, Indiana is just so fascinating. Not just because our buddy Tom Ackerman is the biggest Indiana fan that we know, but that's an add-on. I mean, I'm rooting for him because I want Tom to have that feeling. You know, I'm rooting for him. And I'm rooting for Indiana because I would love to see a change. I don't want to see Alabama there all the time. I don't want to see Georgia there all the time. I'd love to see Indiana make it to the Final Four and maybe even to the championship game and win it all if my Canes can't do it. And this is an interesting test to me. Alabama is clearly the more talented team, but Indiana is so well coached. And their defense is so chaotic and so difficult for opponents to manage that I think that it evens out the talent. I really do. Even though Indiana's favored by 7, I think that's a lot. I feel this is a toss-up game. Physicality and talent versus the superior coached team.
If there's one game that I had to pick an underdog to win, it would be this one. I believe in Alabama more than I believe in Ole Miss, more than I believe even in Texas Tech, and certainly more than I believe in Miami. That's if talent is going to win out, I'm with you, Kevin. That's an Alabama team that has more talent, but we can't take away from Indiana.
No, they're good,
I told myself, because I thought Indiana was going to get beat by a lot in the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State. And clearly I was as wrong as you could be on that one. That not only did they not get beat by a ton, they ended up winning that game. And it was in that moment that I said, okay, I have to stop not believing in Indiana. This is a legit deal. And here I am kind of feeling the same way again, where I just don't totally know if Indiana's going to be that team. It's like what I mentioned to you earlier, Kevin. I have a hard time trusting teams that are in moments these big, moments as big as these, and haven't been there before. And this is all brand new territory for Indiana, and I don't totally know how they're going to handle it.
I think that's a fair point. My concern on Alabama is that whoever the Ty Simpson was who beat Georgia in Athens in September got kidnapped in like mid to late October, and he's never returned to Tuscaloosa. I don't know where he is. They got him out of the country, and they haven't allowed him back, because the kid that we saw down the stretch. So I saw him in person against Georgia, and then again against South Carolina on the road in October, where he really struggled, and he was very, very fortunate. Alabama was hugely fortunate to win that game. South Carolina deserved to win that game, and had they, Alabama would have been out of the playoff, and Notre Dame would have been in.
Yeah.
And then I saw him in the SEC Championship, where Alabama was terrible, and that was not just him. The other thing is that one of the things I thought that stood out about Alabama coming into the year on paper, and that you could see in the game, even against a team with the talent and that's as well coached as Georgia is, back in September when Alabama won on the road, is that Alabama had the ability to stretch the field vertically and horizontally, because they had 3 really high-end receivers in Williams, Bernard, and Horton.
Yeah.
And Ryan Williams is just not the same kid
He's not.
that he was last year. And
Thank you for saying that. I think you're totally right.
I don't know if that's I don't know him, all right? So I'm not going to say why that is. I mean, you can speculate about maybe you give 17-year-old the level of exposure and the amount of money that he got, and maybe you get a kid who's not as locked in coming into this year and through the offseason as he might have been otherwise. I mean, that would be very reasonable. It would have been true of me at that age, certainly. So it's not really a criticism. It's just how it is. He has not been, maybe he's playing through something. I don't know. He has not been the same guy. He has a ton of drops this year, and it's really hurt. I mean, he spent a decent number of plays on the sideline. His target share has dropped precipitously.
Yep.
I mean, it's just he's not impacting the game in the same way, and so I think that hurts Alabama offensively in what should have been an edge for them against Indiana. Their ability to make the field as wide and long as possible and force Indiana to cover all of it. We used to have the same conversation a lot about Notre Dame when they would get late in the playoff and be forced to play the really elite athletic teams.
Yeah.
And so I think Indiana has a much better chance of hanging in there, and if Alabama can't overwhelm them athletically, and I don't think they're going to be able to, I don't think they can overwhelm them anywhere else. And if the game's close, I like Indiana for the same reasons they've had success all year long.
It's a good breakdown, guys. Looking forward to seeing how these things go down in the next couple of days. Just do me a favor and root for the Canes, okay? They're probably not going to win. Just root for them. I know that this is not the year, but we can hope, right?
It's open enough. This could be the year for anybody. You never know.
I really do think that's true, though, Nate. I agree with you. We're wrapping it up in like 20 seconds, but I agree that I've thought all year that most of these teams are very similar. Not a big year where you have a big team that stands out from the crowd, and we'll see. Maybe one does, and we'll find out here in the next few days, and it's the beauty of the playoff. We get to find it out. We don't have to guess based on people deciding that. All right, countdown to opening day is coming up next with Matt Pauley and Mike Claiborne. Enjoy that. Matt, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Nate, we'll see you soon, buddy. Happy New Year to you. That's going to wrap up Rush Hour Sports here on KMOX.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind